Welcome to Kimappa and Friends. We've got Deepak from First Umpire here as well, because
Hi.
Robbie sent a message in our group chat, and in that he said we have to do a live about this. And
Yeah, after that, dude, that is one of the greatest chases in women's cricket, if not the greatest chase in women's cricket.
it's
No
got to be
doubt
one of
How
the
about
can you
best
not?
chases in a knockout World Cup, just regardless of gender, doesn't it? Like, that is a
Yeah,
ridiculous chase.
that is insane. Like, and listen, having you have to acknowledge that this Aussie team is like the invincibles of women's
Mm.
cricket, right? So
Yes.
chase down a score that they've set up in a semi-final game like that. Oh my God, it is something else.
No, no doubt. I mean, we talked about their team the other day of having what, 8 bowlers? Is that right? I think it's eight
Yeah,
bowlers. Yeah, and they bat to number 10, 9, wherever
yeah,
you want to stop. Like, they have proper batters all the way down the order, and
yeah.
and so to beat them, we said you had to bowl them out, and India kind of did bowl them out right at the end, or they ran them out because I think they got a few run outs at the end, right?
I
Or
think
But
three of them,
three
I
to four.
guess.
I
but
can tell
Deepak,
you.
yeah, sorry.
Finish.
No, I was just going to say,
Sorry.
Deepak, I mean, essentially, Australia didn't make as many runs as we all thought they were going to make. And that kept
Yes.
India in the game, right? It looked like they were going to make 360, 370, 380.
Yes. To be honest, like it felt like similar to the 2015 World Cup finals, semi-finals. Like Australia had a brilliant start. Like they were running away with the match. They had an early hiccup. I think in that match, Warner got out early, and then Smith and Finch they had their act together, and then there was a mini collapse, and then
Mm.
Mitchell Johnson at the end also was able to hit some mighty blows, and they were able to take the score to 330. So like it felt almost like that, and then the start was pretty dicey at India's end, but that partnership, I think, between Jemimah and Harmanpreet, I think that set the tone for the match.
Yeah, I think
I honestly,
even the openers, like, I just felt like they always felt they could chase it. That's the way I looked at
yeah,
the Indian partnership.
yeah. And I've honestly not seen Harman be so calm
Mm.
throughout
Yes.
the course of a game, which I think was fabulous. Honestly, this is actually one of the first, I think, in the last 3 or 4 years that I watched an entire one-day game from end to end.
It is.
Like from the start to from the first ball to the last ball, I've sat in front of my TV, I've parked myself in the room, and I've not gone anywhere, and I've just peeled my eyes on the television. It's a great game to watch.
I can
Sure,
tell
there
you
was
that's true, Robbie,
uh,
because while we podcast, the amount of times your eyes are on the game and not on me while I was making incredibly important points. So I think that's 100%. It's a fascinating game all the way through. Deepak, you were talking about something off air, which I think is worth talking about, and I think I might have done it on a video earlier, which is India. If you want to beat Australia, there's no point trying to contain them, right? Because they've got too many batters and they're going to keep hitting. And India went in with that extra bowler after earlier in the tournament going in with extra batting. That extra bowler is really, really important and probably got them enough wickets to keep them in the game, even when Australia was smashing them.
Exactly, and they were a little brave on that because Sneh Rana, though she gives you that cushion with her batting, but then she's not an attacking option as a bowler. So India was brave today. They went in with five bowlers. They had this clarity, and even though they gave away some easy runs with all those overthrows and those drops and stuff, but still, I think the intent to get Australia out was there. And Australia, after that one big partnership, kept on losing wickets at a regular interval.
Yeah, I think
yeah,
that was a
and
big thing for me,
what
Robbie.
they actually looked the Indian fielding team looked a little hapless. They felt like okay, well, they're running away with it, and you could just see with their body language that it wasn't the greatest. But those few runouts certainly helped India in pegging
It's
these guys back.
it's fascinating because you look at them and they dropped that easy catch. They had the three they get the three runouts, but in the middle of those two things, they probably give away about another what, 40 runs. Like, there was the
Yeah,
overthrows, there was sloppiness, a friend of
yeah.
mine was betting on the game, and he was betting on India to chase this down. So well done, Jake. You've had a
Well
very good day.
done, man.
Yeah, but
Well done.
by the way, they were over 10-1, I reckon, when he got his bets on as well. So he did very, very well.
Wow.
But he said the one thing that he was worried about is the fact that Australia weren't going to give 50 runs back, right? Like, that's just not what Australia do in the field. But come on, Robbie. you don't like to put the foot in. You like to be empathetic and you go in your TED talks and talk about mental health. But that catch that Alyssa Healy dropped, right, is one of the worst drops. And we've all seen bad drops in international cricket, but that is one of the worst drops we've seen from a good cricketer in international cricket almost ever.
First of all, yeah, first of all, Alana King had no business going anywhere near that ball if you have to look at it
I'm with
from
you. That was my thing as well.
Australia's perspective. I was like, why is she even trying when you have the best women's wicketkeeper, like the best wicketkeeper in the world there?
Why would you
Like
walk
she is,
over? I actually,
why would you even be in the vicinity? But
I
she was
showed
there.
Ezekiel that. I showed Ezekiel that to say to him, do never do this. If the ball goes straight up in the air you see the wicketkeeper coming, you disappear. You don't stand there and watch her try and catch it.
Yeah, 100%. And
But
obviously he was distracted, and clearly the ball, as it came down, I think just kind of moved away from her, kind of tailed away from her. That happens, and you got to stay with the ball. And obviously she was distracted, and I was like, oh my God, she just. And then that's when I put out a tweet saying, I like my mother. I said, Mother Jemmy, please just kind of hang in there, slow down, read the signs a little bit, because there were a couple of signs where she was taking a few chances in between. Probably she was ran out of energy at that point in time. And then you got to read the signs when you're batting, right? You get a chance, then you got to slow down a little bit. You got to kind of just push your ebb into the flow of the game and slow down for a couple of overs, and then build momentum up back again. Harman was very astute at that point in time, because when she started, like, in the sense that those chances started happening, I think she assumed that Jemmy would actually slow down a little bit, and then she started taking the attack on. And even with her, I think she started cramping, and she probably felt like, with her body, she probably felt like once she starts cramping, it won't stop, because I've been there, so I know what that's like. So she probably felt it's better for me to go hell for leather right now, and then try and score as many as possible. Because when she got out, we still needed about 110 of 90 or 85 deliveries.
yeah.
So, but kudos to the rest of the other girls who came in and bat. Dipti was amazing. Richa was great. Amanjot was amazing. They just came on and they kind of stepped on, put their foot on the pedal immediately. Took a little time to get in, but then it was just they just got going. And what I liked about India today was they ran well between the wickets. I think that is key. If we
Yes.
if we go and ask our team to study the dot balls that they played today, would have been very few,
I
as
think
And
compared to.
Deepak, it's
yes.
very important though that I asked Robbie about how to rate that catch, and he went out of his way to answer four other questions rather than just saying it's one of the worst drops he's ever seen. That's a proper wicketkeeper, right? He's not even. He had the chance to just absolutely put the boot into Alyssa Healy, and he was like, "So there was a little bit of wind, and Alana King was too close, and actually India
But it's
batted
all
really
true.
well."
But it's all true.
I know, I know.
There is
I think it's
something
funny.
I said that wasn't true.
Yes.
Deepak, just to go back, it's funny when 2017 when Australia lose in the semi final to India, I think it was Alex Blackwell played this incredible innings where she was just smashing the ball. I think she hit like more sixes in that innings than I've ever seen her hit in her entire career before. Phoebe Litchfield today was just like otherworldly when she did the switch hit. And she changed because when you first see something, you're like, wait, was that a reverse sweep or a switch hit? And then you're like, she's literally, it's not a reverse sweep. She's got switch hit. That was other level. This is probably one of the best innings you will see, and it's not even in the top three innings or in the top two innings in this game in the end.
Yes, and to be honest, like she was meticulous. Like if you look at the initial phase, the Kranti God was bowling little too fuller. Like I read this piece that even her coach was insisting that she should be bowling the good length areas, and Litchfield kind of just kept on driving those lengths, even though she was trying to find some swing early on. And today, when spinners came on, India had put in the backward like. Uh, the backward square leg, and they also had the deep point because they just wanted to cover the sweeps because this is
Yeah,
her
on both
sprint area.
sides.
And then, yes, and then she just started going over the top, like on offside, which is very brave considering the magnitude of the game. And even then, she was able to like come up with that plan B, and that completely bamboozled the Indian bowling attack because suddenly the spinners were going for runs and they were all over the place. They were not able to coordinate well, and it was masterful innings. But she was able to improvise there itself, and it completely threw India off their initial plans. Some brilliant batting, I must say.
Her feet are so ridiculously quick. Like, you know, when you see
Mm,
someone, it's like, you know, Pajara or someone like that, where you just like, it's not that they use their feet well, it's also that they just get to balls that other people don't get to, right? Like, I was watching her feet today, just going, Robbie, like, she can almost turn any ball into whatever shot she wants to play because of how quickly she moves.
yeah. So I think with her, she's quick, but she's also very decisive with her footwork.
Mm,
It's very, very like she makes really quick decisions as to how she wants to play. And then she's very clear, I think, about, her areas. And she kind of backs herself, even if the field's back, whatever the field, if the ball's in her zone, she's very clear of what her
mm,
zone is. And then if it's there, she's backing herself to play the shots. And that's what she did today. She saw the field and like even that switch hit, DK actually called it before it actually happened. And it was a great call actually. And she saw the field and she like, okay, this is probably the only shot here. And then she was like, you saw how she held the bat with one hand while she was turning, and then as she started getting into the shot, she held it, and then she beautiful, man. It's so good to see. I
man,
love
it
the
was.
innovation
I
thing.
mean, to play in innings like that in a World Cup semi-final and like have to go home is ridiculous, right? Also, she's 19. Like I remember being showed footage of her when she was about 15 and everyone was like, what's she going to be? And it's like she's already better than what I think everyone thought her ceiling was. And they haven't got close. India's bowling, do we have any concerns over the fact that essentially only two of the bowlers could contain it all?
Yeah.
You know, going into the final, a little bit more. I mean, the batting looks. Remember, this isn't even India's A batting side, right? Their opener went home. Isn't playing. Is injured. But the
Thank you.
bowling. Yeah, I'll get it right eventually. Is at the pub? I don't know where she is. But the bowling is a bit more shaky, right? There's a couple of times today where you're like, and I know Litchfield is good and at least Perry is in control, but there are a couple of times where you're like, this is not quite the strongest bowling lineup, right? Like India
But
feels very one side of the ball.
yeah, it isn't strong at all, and I think it's a cause of concern. I think they really need to step up the bowling unit. They need to bowl with a lot more conviction. They need to bowl a lot more aggressively. They need to bowl to take wickets. It feels like when they're bowling, from their body language, it feels like they're bowling to protect themselves, or they're bowling really defensively. And you can't, like with a team like Australia, like even now, as much as I've followed the Women's World Cup, this World Cup, I actually feel like Australia still have the most well-rounded side. They must have lost today, but that was just batting out of the skins. And India will have to step up, irrespective of if they win the World Cup or not. With their bowling, they will have to step up. They will have to be able to hit the good areas. They will have to bowl with a lot more aggression. And I think if they bowl with a lot more aggression with the intent to take wickets, I think they'll be a far better side than they are right now, as in bowling side. Batting
Yeah,
side, I
because
said I was speaking about it on Geo. I was talking about how they can't be dependent on just the top order. They need to be dependent on the entire batting order because they've got a lot of depth. And I think that that's something that they showed today, and they need to start, believing in themselves that they've got the stuff to chase down biggest totals even.
you look at it, Deepak, and like you look at the South African bowling lineup, they've got three bowlers with a bowling average of
Yes,
better than 24, and India doesn't have
yes.
any of that. Like it's really clear, like what these teams are good at, and you know, I think South Africa have basically made runs from two positions, right? Like they're number 8, Nadine de Klerk, who's had two incredible innings, and Wolfart, who's made all the runs. So it's like in one team you've got this really long batting lineup, which is also why it didn't make any sense. They kept going with an extra batter, right? And then you've got this other team that has all rounders and bowlers who are very good, and a couple of batters. Like very different teams for a World Cup final. It's a cool system to go up against. Like when India is facing the South African bowlers, that's strength versus strength.
Yes, and to be honest, like I personally felt that they were little too predictable with their angles also. Like even when the off spinner Deepthi was bowling, she was just to the right hander, she was just bowling over the wicket only, and to the left hander, she was just bowling from a traditional angle. They just didn't even try to challenge that path, like whether to bowl with some different angles or to basically tweak around with the fields. They had come up with a very set bowling plan, and the time Litchfield kind of threw them off. They were
Mm.
all over the place. They just didn't have the plan B. against South Africa also, when these teams last met, this was the thing. Even though South Africa started poorly, they had at one point of time almost needed a near miracle to win that match. India just could not come up with any plan B or C. Like they were little too predictable, or I would say little too bland as a bowling unit. So this is, even with the resources that they have, they need to be little more innovative, little more brave. This is with the and I think like the plans initially today were good. By the time Litchfield kind of innovated, they were just doing the catch up job. So I really hope that this doesn't happen against South Africa, because South Africa, the batting unit has been a mixed bag of things. They have been folded for less than 100 against Australia, but then against England, they were so clinical. So I think they will really need to come up with some plan B and C for the finals. And considering the fact that they have a couple of days to work on it, really expect that they come up with something new.
Yeah. I just want to some of the mistakes that Australia made, because Australia don't make a lot of mistakes, right? Some of the mistakes
I just
were
saw the replay of Talia McGrath's drop catch.
okay. Now we're gonna Deepak, we're gonna get Robbie to get which is the easier catch.
Obviously, obviously, Alyssa Healy catch
I
was
don't know if
easier.
it is. It went. I give you. I'll give you the fact that there's someone was standing near her and it might have swelled a little bit. Talia McGrath's is like it's. I almost think it's hard to drop that of Talia McGrath's, like because it's
I'm
not.
telling you, dude, like I don't know if you guys believe, Jared. I don't know if you believe in God or not, but I'm telling you, there was divine intervention tonight for India's sake.
Yes. And
I'm
and
telling you, dude, there's
and to be
no way Australia dropped those kind of catches in a World Cup semi-final. It
You're
just
forget.
doesn't happen.
You're forgetting the other bit as well. Like this is a World Cup semi-final in which Jemimah Rodrigues was dropped on an absolute dolly, but also at one stage she was sitting down in the middle of the pitch and Australia couldn't pick the ball up to run her out. Like
I
Alyssa
have
Healy's like, throw the ball back to me. Here, throw it to me, and they didn't even pick it up. Like they did. I mean, to be fair to India, it was a brilliant chase, and they didn't give a lot of chances, but they gave 3 hilarious chances, and Australia just completely bottled every single one of them. Right?
I've
All of
never
them.
seen an Australian team, to be honest, panicking like that. Like across the genders, I would say, like in a knockout match. Like I would really have to go back ages to kind of come up with a similar kind of a performance where they would have bottled up like this in such a big match, because they're clinical. They're generally the one thing which Australian teams of the past have always done. They have stayed in their present and they have never like tried to be ahead of themselves. Today, it felt as if they were feeling the heat, and which was very unlike Australian teams of the past. I can't recall any such thing ever happening in my memory. Like India, to be honest, whenever they have won any ICC trophy, they have to perform exceedingly well. Something exception has always happened against Australia. In 2007, we had that amazing partnership between Robbie and UV, the 30 ball 70. It's been like that. Harmanpreet in 2017, Rohit Sharma in 2024, and that 2025 also Champions Trophy, the entire team coming up, that amazing performance. But I've never seen Australia panic like this. I don't think so. I
I
can
don't
recall
know if they
any
panicked
such
as much
instance.
as like Deepak. I don't know if they panicked as much, Baba. I think they like even after they dropped the catches. What was impressive to see, to be honest, from the outside was that they didn't linger on that moment. Like even when they dropped the catches, you could see like you can read people, right? When you look at their eyes, when you're playing against people and you watch the opponents, you know if they're panicking, you know if they're feeling like shit is slipping away from us. You didn't feel that at all with Australia until the last, say, 15 balls. That's when it felt like they were letting go of the game. Till
Yes.
that point, it felt like they were fighting. It never felt like, even though they dropped catches, I felt like there were errors that were made. But I don't know if it was panic, to be honest. It could have been just errors that were made and pressure for sure. But I think they know how to handle pressure. This team. However, I think, like I said, genuinely, I think there was divine intervention today somewhere out there for a team like Australia to make the kind of errors they made on the field today.
Well, I mean, the thing that I was really interesting, if you look back at the Talia McGrath one, and I've just done that on the feature video on that'll go up on the site, right? If you look at, there was an angle they showed from like behind her as the ball goes through her hands, and Alyssa Healy is like walking towards the bowler as if to say, well, this is obviously going to be caught, and we're going to celebrate this wicket. There's I know this is going to sound a little bit like, it's easy to say this in hindsight, but it felt like they were waiting for someone to do something good for them, because everyone, they've played what, 3 games in this tournament where they've been average or terrible at times or got themselves behind in the game, maybe even 4, and someone's just done something, right? Every single time. And they looked like a team waiting for the person, whereas compared to India, it looked like a team of like, we all have to do this together, right? Like all of us have to pull together. And it was, you know, I don't know if you've ever played on a team, Robbie, that's that good. Sometimes you get to a point where you're just like, well, someone's going to stand up, right? Like I played in a season once where we didn't lose a single game till the finals, right? And it was like everyone just expected we were like the All-Stars, right? And no one stood up at the time, and everyone was standing around waiting for it. And you look at that Australian team, and you're like, what are they doing at the moment? And once the dew was always going to be a factor, but it wasn't like the ball was as wet as some of those other games. But they didn't really, even without the dew, look like they were putting any pressure back on India. India were just sticking around just behind the run rate, nagging at them without losing any wickets.
Yeah, and you know what? This is exactly what happened to the Indian cricket team when New Zealand came to India after we won the World Cup in 2024.
Interesting.
Because I think they just said somebody or the other is going to stand up, and I think
Yes.
that's when the debacle happened. 2-0, 3-0 whitewash at home. I think that happened because they thought, okay, someone will stand up. Maybe a Pujara will stand up. I don't know if Pujara player, but Jadeja will stand up. Maybe Shubman Gill will stand up. One of the youngsters will stand up. Nobody stood up, right? And you know, I think something similar and happens with really great teams because someone or the other genuinely actually stands up. They step
Yeah.
up to the plate when push comes to shove. But this time, no one did. And
No.
you could tell when Richa got out, that catch, you could tell that when that ball is in the air, everyone around in that Australian team was nervous. Are they going to drop this one as well? Did you
And
feel
they
that?
weren't
After that?
nervous. They weren't nervous for the first 2, right? Like as I said,
No.
Alyssa Healy is just walking in casually, and if you look at Alana, she's not like, oh, I hope she catches it. She's like, of course we're going to catch this, right? And then by the end, like you know, I had friends messaging me going, it doesn't really matter what India do now. If they hit the ball up in the air, there's like a 50% chance there's at least one more drop, and so there won't be enough wickets, right? Like, you know, there is all that sort of element of it. So it's fascinating watching that. It's also just, you know, we talked about it as a chase. I think this is a great chase no matter how you look at it, right? Like as in chasing 300 in a knockout game. But they were 59 for 2, and Mandhana was caught down the leg side with one she didn't even know she hit.
I don't know if that was out. By the way, the speedometer said 159 kilometers an hour, by the way, for that ball.
I thought it was quicker. I thought she really better back on that one.
Yeah. So
I thought there was one
there
earlier.
was
Actually, one earlier that was wrong.
I think she wasn't out on that one.
Yeah, she might not have been out, but the point is, you're unlucky to be caught down the leg side anyway, especially with the keeper standing up, right? And she's the one. Like I did a video before the start of the series of being, which this game didn't quite play out that way, but she's the one that Australia can't stop, right? Like as in, she could score at such a rate. You look at Jemimah. Jemima's still going at less than a run a ball here, right? And even Harmanpreet just went out on a ball. Whereas if Smriti gets going, like Australia can't stop her, and she smashed some of them before as well. So losing her, not having your other opener around as an anchor, right, and chasing over 300, like there are plenty of outs here, right, where you think, okay, this is the time. Even when Harmanpreet goes out, you're like, if they lose 2 wickets now, it becomes a completely different game. They just kept going, as you said, like who was it, Deepti. And Risha come in and they just bash it, right? Look at their strike rates. They're both striking at like 140, 150.
Exactly. Yeah. I think the best decision that was made today was the decision to send Jemmy at number 3. The best decision. I've always believed she is India's best number 3 batter. In fact, when I've spoken to her, like, why aren't you batting number 3, dude? And she's like, no, the team wants me to bat in the middle order in one day's finish games. So like, okay, fair. But I've always believed that she is a top order bat, and I think you need to give her the position where she can control the game, because she's not just good with her own batting, but she gets other people going as well.
Yes.
When she's there in the middle, she actually augurs a lot of confidence to the rest of the group. And you've seen that when she's played the BBL, the Women's 100, the WIPL. You've seen her, like, she likes to control the game. She's a little bit, she's a little pocket rocket, that girl, but I'm telling you, she knows batsmanship really, really well. And she knows how to pace an innings and she
And
can carry it.
And to be honest, like one thing, she kind of gave an impression of like what Michael Bevan used to do, like absorb the pressure. Like though she was taking her time, she was not even run a ball for majority, in fact, for the entire length of her innings. And then there were small pieces around her which were like kind of fitting in. People coming in, scoring those 12, 13 balls, 20. Like Deepthi did it, and then Richa did it, and then Amanjot also did it. So like she was kind of, and then she was clinically finding the gaps also. It was not power hitting, but she was like manipulating the field, running her singles and doubles very well. And to be honest, as Robbie also mentioned, running between the wickets was top notch today. Something pretty uncharacteristic to what we have seen. That's why it had a touch of what I would say similar to what Michael Bevan used to do at his peak. I would not say like MS, because MS then would always had the ability to clear the boundary also. He would just bring in the power game wherever required. But
Yeah, she
this
didn't
was
hit a
more of a
six today,
clinic.
right? Like there was a
Yes,
lot of
that's what I'm
sixes hit
saying.
in that game, and she didn't hit one of them,
Yes,
right?
yes, and that's why I felt it was more like a Michael Bevan innings, similar to what 2003 World Cup or something like where he was kind of
I don't think I could be wrong, and I'd have to go back. I don't remember him ever doing a 300 chase. Now there weren't a lot of 300 chases when Michael
never,
Bevan
never,
played,
never,
right?
never. I
But
can
but I don't remember him doing that. But you're right. If he was in that, the interesting thing is why they made the decision. Like maybe it had something to do with changing the opener, and they were like, we need a little bit more stability at the top, whatever that may be. But it's really interesting. That was the fifth time, yeah, fifth time in her career she's batted at number 3 in an ODI. Right, so as Robbie said, mostly she's batting at number 5 or opened, and she's not really made many runs opening the batting. Right, it's mostly her runs have come at 5. So it's a big decision, and it's like let's be honest, it's a decision that everyone's going to be talking about for quite a while. I don't know if they explained it in one of the post-match videos and we missed it, but that's a big move.
That,
Like in
that
a,
was,
you know,
that was, they spoke about it, that they informed her that she'll bat at number 3 when she went to have a shower post the first innings. And she was like, okay, you guys discuss it. I'll quickly have a shower and come back. And then so when she came back, she was told that she was informed that she's going to bat at number 3. But I think that's the position. And if she's done like that innings, if that innings said anything to me, is that that is her position and she should live there for the rest of her international career.
yeah. Well, I mean, people are going to remember that one for quite some time. How much have you guys seen of South Africa? Where do we? I'll check the odds while you two talk about South Africa.
Well, I think I said this yesterday on air, and I'm saying this again. I said this. I said that if India beat Australia tomorrow, they'll go on to win the World Cup, and I think that's going to hold true. I think they will go on to win the World Cup. I'm only hopeful. I'm only hoping that they don't enjoy this victory too much. They hold some back before they go into the finals. Because sometimes you can lose a lot of steam because you let go of too many emotions. Then when before the job's actually fully done, then you suddenly feel like emotionally you have little left in the bank for a big game like that.
Yeah,
like I
that's what
personally
I was thinking. Sorry, Deepa. I was thinking the same thing. They looked like they were celebrating a little bit too much, and I was like, just hold it back because you haven't won it yet. Like, I know this is a huge game, but you need, because sometimes you have that thing where you have that big emotional release, and then you play the other team who haven't had that same thing, and you just lose your energy. Sorry, Deepak, you were talking.
Yeah, exactly. But like I've never seen somebody, the audience, the people crying in the stands, and even in the WhatsApp groups, there was so much of discussion because this was not the finals, but like the emotions, because everybody thought it was kind of a revenge for that 19th November 2023. Like because people were kind of relating to that, so a lot of people were discussing. I was getting a lot of messages, and one thing I personally believe with South Africa and India, the thing is. India, though they have lost matches in this tournament, but there's been a pattern to it. They have a very fixed pattern of play during the entire tournament. There've never been too much of surprises as far as what to expect from this team. But South Africa, it will totally depend with which South Africa turns up on that day. Because they have been brilliant, like breathtaking stuff has happened, but then they've been very ordinary also on few
Well,
days.
they
So,
were bowled out for, I don't know how many teams have ever made a World Cup final, and they were bowled out for 57. Like, I think Varun's gone to bed, but like that's the sort of stat that we should be looking up of like how
yeah,
many teams have
Pakistan
teams ever been.
92.
What would
They were
they? What
bowled
was
out
the
for
lowest they were
79 by
bowled
England.
out for?
79 by England, and then the match was washed out
The
because of
washout.
rain.
Yeah, that's a good
Yes,
one.
92.
They were one. I couldn't remember how much they were bowled out for, but it doesn't happen very often, right?
They were
And
done for 79 or 78, I guess. It was less than 80, I clearly remember. So
it
92
wasn't
World
many.
Cup.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right. And then you look at that and you go, and even when South Africa beat India, India should have won that game as well. So South Africa's been all over the shop, their form, right? Okay, I've got the odds
Yes.
for you guys. India is 1.4, so better rupee, get back 1.4 rupees.
Can you educate me on this? How does this work? Like, how do the odds work? I don't know what the odds mean. Like, I'd love to understand what this stuff means.
Well, if you put £1 on India, you would get £1.40 back. So they're hot favourites.
Oh.
Very, very hot favourites. Whereas if you put £1 on South Africa, you get £3.35 back. So I'm trying to see if I could see that on percentages, but it's red hot favourites. Considering
Yes.
that South Africa won the last T20 World Cup and have beaten India, it's quite fascinating to see it, that sort of dramatic. Just have a look if I could see the actual percentages here. But it's here we go. India is it's not coming up. I'm trying to bring it up, but I think India is something like a 70% chance of winning. I think that's what it's saying here. Oh, so here we go. 70.1% chance of winning so far, according to the bookmakers.
So when you say 1.4,
Yeah.
can you educate me on how to read the odds? So if it's 1.4, is that 1 is to something? How does that work? Or 10 is to
Yeah,
1
yeah.
or 1.4?
So if you put $1 on, you get
That I understood.
yeah,
That I
yeah.
understood.
So if you look at it in
So
traditional
like, what's
odds,
the ratio
India
then?
would be 2 to 5 is the traditional way of saying those odds. I don't know how you guys do odds in India. Not that you do odds, of course, because
I don't
betting's now
know. I
illegal.
don't know. Like,
Yeah. So
I don't know how this is
one of the
done.
most annoying things about gambling is lots of different countries do slightly different kinds of odds, and it is
Oh, is
such
it?
a pain in the
I thought it was
ass.
universal.
Yeah, no. So America does this thing where they do like plus 100 and minus 100, and I've tried to work it out like 7 times, Robbie. And I think what minus means is favorite, and plus obviously means that you're less than a 50% chance of getting it. But I can't wrap it around. And then England traditionally do the odds as 5. So South Africa are 23 to 10, right? So you get your 10 back, and you get 23 on top of that. So if you were to bet $10, you would get $33 back, right?
Oh.
And that's how it all works. But the most important thing to say here is a World Cup final where one team has a 70% chance of winning. That's quite weighted toward, especially when South Africa has beaten India in this tournament.
Yes, and they were they finished also ahead of India. So,
Yeah,
but like,
exactly.
but considering that they've never been a consistent pattern, but like the two
I
consistent
agree.
performances from them in the entire tournament, and really hope that semi-finals was that peak performance, and then they'll come up with the same dip in the form in the finals against India, the pattern they've shown throughout the tournament.
It's also really important to say that betting odds are quite often changed by the Indian market. So generally, the India as a men's and women's team are shorter than they should be. As I've said before, Mumbai Indians are the same, and then Nepalese men's team is another team that is the same. So sometimes fan bases are so sure that things are going to happen, they can warp things a little bit. But having said that, I think when they were 1 wicket down India, they were like 12 to 1. Right, so massive outsiders. Like, Australia had like a 95% chance winning at certain times, according to the
That
bookies here.
keeps changing, doesn't it? The odds keep changing throughout the
Ball
course
by
of a
ball.
game, or
Yes, they keep on changing.
oh,
Yes.
so you gotta so how does this work? You don't like just set you don't just kind of place a bet and then just forget about it, or you gotta
So,
keep
It's
placing. How does it work?
so what I did was I traded cricket games like you would trade stocks or crypto, right?
Oh wow, okay, fascinating. Now I like this. Go on, tell me.
So basically, what I'm doing is so this is what my friends were doing right today. They put money on India because they were like India should be like $4 or $5 at the moment, right? And they're $12. So let's put money on India, and often Australia don't start particularly well because their new ball bowlers don't always take a lot of wickets. So you can trade into that, and then you hope that India start to get towards the win. And when I'm trying to remember what happened, but it might have been just before Risha came in. No, Risha might have hit the six, and my friends got out of there because they were like, now we're massively in front. Right, so they'd already made all their money, so they don't want to wait for the end. Because what if Australia get 4 wickets in an over, right, and suddenly you lose the game? So you trade in and out, and that's what you do. Most people do that.
You don't have to trade. Sorry. Okay, so it's like a trade you can pull out when you're going up.
Yep.
Oh.
Not that this is a pro gambling show, of course, and everything else, but
No,
it is.
This is a master class from Jared.
It is really fascinating. So in T20 cricket and ODI cricket, it's fascinating to watch. The best one is Test cricket, though, because there's 3 markets in Test cricket. So in a T20 or a one-day game, it's like you've got the 2 major markets going on at the same time, and you're like, who's going to win, who's not going to win, right? But you add draw to that, and it's madness. So you can have a situation where a team's like Bumrah's bowled an incredible spell, but the other team's blocked him out, right? And you're like, well, that makes them better off because Bumrah's going to come off. And the market's like, no, they've just blocked out Bumrah. Now the draw is more likely. And so you're sitting there the whole time going, oh my God, yeah, we've now got to factor that in. So it's really fascinating. And also, when you're betting on an ODI game or a T20 game, it's a lot of it is about the algorithms that the billionaires have, right? So you're not betting against us 3, right? Not you 2, of course. Definitely not you, Robbie, because you're currently in India and you definitely can't be betting. Deepak, I don't know what the laws are where you are, but don't bet.
No, don't.
But it's not allowed. It's not allowed here also.
Don't bet. Don't bet. It is not worth it.
Don't bet, you will lose.
Bet. It's not worth it.
But when you're betting, especially when you're betting in T20 matches, you're literally betting up against guys who have algorithms, right? And they pay. There's a couple of guys that have like 27, 30 mathematicians who work for them. Right. So you're betting against like hardcore people, and then they might have another 5 or 10 cricket traders as well, right? I don't know why you put that in quotes. That is their actual name. But so you've got an algorithm working, and then you've got live cricket traders tweaking the algorithm to be like, there's due, right? So you press a button for due, right? Or the ball's gone soft. You press a button for the ball's gone soft, right? Or Australia's choking. You press so you can warp the algorithm as the game goes on. So it's really hard to beat those markets because you are beating it. I mean, we've talked about this before. There's a guy that, not this IPL, the IPL before, I think lost $35 million on the tournament, right? And he's sometimes betting $5-7 million on a run line. Not even the game result. He's literally saying RCB is going to score over 192. So that's what those guys are doing. So it's very hard to beat them. And then the bookies now, they no longer really set their own match odds. They actually just crimp and they take it from the markets, right? Because the markets are so much. You think about how much knowledge is in that market at that point, because even the cricket fans who are there are quite highly knowledgeable at that point. This is not a place where you do casual bets, right? That's what you go to your bookie for a casual bet. When you go into somewhere like a Betfair market or a match market or any of those sorts of markets, that's when you run into the billionaires and the syndicates and everything else. And so the knowledge is really, really high. So it's fascinating to watch it and everything else. And also, when I first started betting on cricket, in women's cricket, no one knew anything, right? So it was really easy to make little wins. Now there are people who just bet on women's cricket, right? Because there's so much money in some of these pools now, and there's so much women's cricket being played, right? So it's fascinating to watch. Anyway, I don't know how we got onto this here.
Keep it simple. Remember, it's not timing the market; it is time in the market that is important.
Yes.
I thought he was going to
Almost
say
true for everything else. Any asset class, I would say.
I thought he was going to say do your own research again, which you should also do your own research.
You have to do your
anything else to add, gentlemen? I've got to go tuck a 5-year-old into bed, but is there anything else that we didn't cover? I feel like we talked about most of this game. It is incredible. Again, some of the times that Australia was what, 220 for 2?
Yes.
That's how many games is the Australian women's team going to lose when they're 220 for 2? It is an incredible effort for the Indian women to come back in that.
And that's also something that,
Yes.
what's her name? What's that girl who got that 100 for Australia? Sorry.
Phoebe Litchfield?
Litchfield. Phoebe Litchfield.
Yeah, Litchfield. I think with Litchfield also, once she started getting going, I think she started taking a little, like she played a lot more high risk cricket.
Yeah.
So, like, it was completely an unforced error, her getting out. Like, if she continued to bat on, like, if she chose to pick ebb in the flow at that point in time, she would have probably caught another wind after a couple of overs, and then she would have probably extended her innings and scored a big hundred like Laura Waltart did for South Africa in the semi-finals. But she tried to play a risky shot, and she got out. And oftentimes, when wickets fall like that after a big partnership, then you know that there are some wickets that come through in
Yeah.
like
I think
in like
yes. I personally feel that it was almost similar to the earlier India Australia match, like where India was cruising along in the first innings. They were looking good to even end up with 360, 370, and then they bottled up in last 6, 7 overs where they just ended up scoring 36 runs and they lost a good 6, 7 wickets also. And they only managed to score 330. And then, no doubt, the pattern of Australian innings was different because Elisa Healy took off. She just blasted
Yeah.
the Indian attack. But the first innings of India in that match, where India scored 330, and this Australian innings almost had a similar vibe because India was also running away with that game. They had a beautiful partnerships going on, and then this is this bottled up in last 10 overs or so, and almost similar thing happened to Australia. Even though Ashley Gardner played a gem of a knock,
Yeah.
she kind of
Secure.
still made it, I think, little above par as far as the total was concerned. So
We've
340 in a sin.
we've almost not mentioned her, which just shows you how bonkers this game was. All right, one word each, or two words, and
Last question. Why didn't Elise Perry bowl?
because they weren't taking wickets, right?
Yeah, but she didn't bowl at all
Oh,
today.
didn't bowl. Oh, she doesn't. She doesn't really bowl much in one day cricket anymore. So I don't know if she's bowled in this tournament. Has she? I don't think she's bowled.
I don't know.
She
But they,
bowled. I think she bowled in the WPL a little
But she took a
bit.
6 wicket haul in that. She took a
Yeah.
6 wicket haul and also in that.
So she
She's
did
not
her.
bowling altogether.
Yeah, she had a. I'm trying to remember the injury, mate. I'm trying to remember what it was. She had an injury in a World Cup a couple of years ago and really hasn't bowled much since then.
All
Um,
right.
yeah, so she doesn't bowl much anymore. But you're right, like she still does bowl. So maybe she's just got a little bit of a niggle as well, and they just thought it wasn't worth it. All right, for a final question. All right, Deepak, who's going to win the final?
I really wish India does, but depends on which South Africa turns up because they have.
No, that's not the question. Who do you think's going to win the final? Get off the fence.
I would definitely go with India.
Okay, Robbie, India. That's easy.
India, my friend.
I will go South Africa because they have the better bowling attack, and I'll go with that. I think in a final, if you can get wickets, you can put all sorts of pressure on people.
Yes.
But India should be favourites. Like I can understand why they are. I thank you very much, Deepak. This is your first Kim Upper, and the shortest Kim Upper we've ever done because I've got to go do stuff. So congratulations on that. Deepak will be back very soon. If you haven't subscribed to First Umpire, go over and find him on all the
Yes.
places.
So
We couldn't log him into our StreamYard for this particular one because it was so last minute. But next time we do something together, we'll make sure that it goes out on all the channels at the same time. Robbie, you can find everywhere, currently in a random Mumbai hotel with what sounds like to my ears terrible Wi-Fi. And I just feel good that it's finally not me that's bringing down the quality of this show. We'll see you again next time on Kim Upper.
Thank you. Thank